estamos aquí con los Matatanes Podcast. Hoy tenemos un special guest, Ivanon Coffie, el Coffee. Jugó en la Grande Liga. Vamos a hablar con él. So we're going to talk with him. So how are you doing today, sir?
Doing great. Doing great. Just happy to be here and spend the time with you and talk about baseball, man. That's what I love to do.
Oh, I know. You know, I've known you for quite a few years, so that's actually pretty cool. So can you tell me how your baseball journey started? I know you're from Curaçao, you know, got signed over there. Like, how was your childhood? How you got into baseball and all that?
I believe if I look back as a kid growing up, baseball was my number one sport.
Okay.
Just because it was the only sport pretty much that kids growing up playing down in Curaçao. And I think with my mom being the softball player that she was, I think that also kind of pulled me in to become a baseball player. So I was playing baseball since I was 6.
Oh, wow.
So I started at a really young age. At 6 is when you can actually get on a team, on a legit team, and then you play 3 years with that same team from 6 to 9. That's what it was back then growing up.
Okay.
So 6 to 9, and then you move up to 9 to 12, and 12 to 15, and 15 to 18. And then once you're 18, then you can join what we call the open league, where it's like every age, it doesn't matter what old you are.
Okay. So I want to go back. I know you said your mom, the softball player that she was. Was she like a national player or like she just played softball?
See, again, back then it was not even close to what it is now with the amount of like national teams and you know, you have national your country and all that stuff. They didn't have none of that stuff. She was just playing for fun. With my aunts who were also on the same team. So again, growing up, it was watching them play. My mom was a shortstop. I remember growing up. And then my aunt was a second baseman, and the other one was a third baseman. So they were all in the infield.
Okay.
So I think that was just kind of what I had as a kid growing up, is watching my mom say, oh, I want to do that one day.
Okay.
And the next thing you know, I was with a team that I grew up with in a neighborhood. It was like one of those like neighborhood teams. Like, hey, you want to come play? Sure.
So everybody knew each other back then. I know, you know, a lot of good players came from your country, like Andrew Jones, Shope, Scoop.
Yeah.
So you know, there's a ton of Andrew Simmons.
Mm-hmm.
So like, how is the community down in Curaçao when it comes to baseball? I know it's pretty small. So
growing up, like I said before, like baseball was just like you play for your neighborhood.
Okay.
It's not like, I don't think you were allowed to play outside of your neighborhood. Like you can't just go join a neighborhood. Like, hey, I want to play for you guys. No, it wasn't like that. You play for that neighborhood that you grew up in.
Okay.
So everybody on that team knew each other because we're all played together in the neighborhood throughout the year. So we grew up playing, and then so we were like 6, and it was all baseball. We were just having fun. It was so much fun growing up playing baseball. I remember going back and there was no stats.
No exit velo at 10U.
No exit velo. It's launch angle. None of that stuff. We were just playing. And to tell you the truth, I didn't even know about batting average back then.
Oh, you guys just go?
No idea.
Go play?
I mean, they kept track of it, but we didn't go on Game Changer.
Oh.
Well, let me go on Game Changer to see what my batting average is. What am I batting? Did I make an error? We were just playing the game and just enjoying the game while we had a chance to do it.
That is amazing. Obviously, you know, I'm from the Dominican Republic, and over there, I came here at a really young age, so I kind of like got Americanized. But, you know, I took Manny down there, and it was totally different. Like, you know, when you're here, you think that you're good, but when you go to, like, you know, Dominican, Curaçao, Venezuela, Puerto Rico, it's a totally different thing.
Oh, yeah. So,
what year were you signed?
So I was So as you know, like back in the Latin countries, we were eligible to sign at 16. I did had a chance when I was 16 to sign my professional contract, but I chose not to.
Okay.
It was just something had to do with school and also being young at that 16-year-old, not knowing what to expect, because we didn't get any inside info on what to expect if you sign to become a professional baseball player. And then growing up, we didn't even know about there was even a chance to play in the pros. We were just playing. And I think around the age of, I would say 11 to 12,
okay,
that's when we start hearing about hey, there might be a chance you might go play in the United States. Really? And then we start asking questions like, how you do that? How, and people were starting, asking questions, how you get there, what you got to do. And then I remember being 12 years old. There was a guy named of Hansi Mullins.
Okay.
Hansi Mullins right now, he's actually the hitting coach for the Rockies in the MLB.
Okay.
He's been up there for a while now with the Rockies. He was with the Yankees, with the Giants when they won those 3 World Series. So he was actually the first one that made it to the majors back in 1989.
Okay. So there's always somebody.
Right. So I think he was the one that kind of like opened the doors for like most of us that, oh, wow, if he can make it, then we can. But there was never the desire to like, I want that. Like we were still playing the game.
For fun.
Yeah,
for
we were
fun.
still playing and see where the game will take us. We didn't kind of lose sleep over, oh, we didn't get a hit today, I'm not gonna make it to the majors. No, we were just playing.
Or that person's ranked, I'm not. Because
Right.
that's what happens nowadays. Oh, he's ranked, and I'm like, come on, a kid's 15, 16 years old. So it's nice to hear. Well, obviously, I grew up. I didn't play travel ball till I was 15 years old. So I totally understand where you're coming from. But going back, right? So you chose not to sign at 16 years old. Your school, obviously, we're talking off camera that 4 languages,
Correct.
which are
I speak fluent. That's our native language. It's called Papiamento.
okay.
And then I speak Dutch. The reason why we speak Dutch is we're a Dutch colony.
Okay.
So in school, it's a mandatory to speak Dutch. So we had to speak Dutch throughout first grade all the way until you finish school. So that was the school that was the language in school.
Okay.
And then while going to school, then you speak a little bit English and then Spanish.
Wow, that's amazing. We're lucky here to know one language, and obviously I'm bilingual. I only know 2 languages, but for you to know 4 and speaking fluently, it's amazing. I know earlier it's probably at the beginning you're like, oh my God, I don't want to do this, but then later on you're more versatile. Yeah, so sure. Who was your favorite baseball player growing up?
Growing up, like kids nowadays, they all have one, and so I had one growing up. It was Ozzie Smith.
Okay.
Shortstop.
One of the great ones.
One of the great ones. And then, so I was him on defense.
Okay.
He was always like making like, these diving plays and doing the backflip and all that stuff. So I'll go on the field calling myself Ozzie Smith.
Oh, wow. So is that, sorry to cut you off.
Yeah.
Is that the mentality? Like, I'm Ozzie Smith.
Yeah.
So, okay.
So knowing that he was good, so that means you want to put yourself in his shoes, be like, I want to be good.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. Yeah, he used to do backflips and all that. It's one of the best shortstops of all time. So,
and then as a hitter, I was Don Mattingly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he was I even started to hit like him. But the hitting style that he had back then, and that just didn't work for me. But I was still that guy in my head. But I had to go with my own batting stance and not, because he had this leaning thing that he used to have, and it just didn't work for me. And I was like, okay, let me stick with what I have, which wasn't great, but I was one of the best hitters growing up in Curacao.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
And it's amazing to me that with no coaching, because again, nothing against the coaches that I had growing up, but there weren't coaches that played the game. They were just guys that were in the neighborhood. Again, just guys in the neighborhood, put a team together, let's go play.
Yeah, because there wasn't anybody that had any pro background.
No.
So, wow, that's pretty amazing. Like,
yeah.
But I mean, to have the drive, or like, oh, you start hearing, hey, MLB, hear this and that, and then, okay, how do I get that? How do I get there? So you signed. How old were you when you signed?
So I was 18. I was 18 after I finished high school. I remember I was, not to brag about it, but I was pretty good growing up, going with the national team, traveling, playing all these national tournaments and stuff like that. And I always wanted to challenge myself. Okay. I felt like I was good enough to take it to the next level. Nothing against the guys from Curacao. They were all good growing up. We were all good players. But I felt like I need a push. I need somebody to like pull my talent. See how good are you in a way. So I remember talking to my parents. I told my parents, like, if I ever get a chance to sign, I will take it. And take it as just to see what's out there.
Okay.
How good the level of baseball is overseas compared to what we had growing up. And when that opportunity came, I told my parents, I'm taking it. I'm like, are you sure? I was like, yeah, I want to give it a shot. And I didn't take it as, oh, I want to make it. No, take it and see what happens.
Okay. So did the Orioles signed you, right?
Orioles signed me, but I had more teams that wanted to sign me. I remember the guy for the Marlins. For the Marlins, they just came to the league. I think it was a year or two later. Brand new team. They came to my mom's house and my parents' house, sat down with me, told my parents, I want to sign your son. We did all this talk, and from nowhere, the Orioles came and just grabbed me.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't want to get into this, but the money that these kids are getting now compared to what you guys used to get back in the day, like, do you mind sharing what they gave you?
Don't mind. To me, nothing is secret. Money compared now could compare back then. Again, it wasn't for the money.
No, absolutely. I know that.
To me, it was signing bonus. Again, back then, I remember I was 18. So when you're 18, your value as far as like your signing bonus goes down. So I remember signing for $15,000.
Okay.
Which was a lot of money back then. You talk about
Oh,
back in the 90s.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, it's a lot of money. But again, I didn't even pay attention to that. I was so focused on I want to see what's out.
Absolutely.
When I came to the United States. So the money was in the because if you go about the money, you will never make it.
Okay. No, and that totally makes sense.
Because the money, if you go by the money and how much you're making, it will take you out of the game. Because we're like, okay, I'm not making money, so I don't want to play anymore.
Okay, because now it's all a big business. Because obviously you're playing in the era of Pedro Martinez, Manny Ramirez, David Ortiz, Albert Pujols. So obviously, you could tell that those guys, yes, they made money through the years, but they love the game.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so we're here with Ivanon Coffie, El Coffee. So we're gonna take a little break, and we'll be right back. So stay tuned. So we are here with the Matatanes podcast. We have Ivanon Coffie. So ex-Major League Baseball player. We're going through his story. Now we're going to go through when he got signed, what he expected, who was the first person that he met. So you signed at 18. Obviously, the Marlins wanted you early on. Then you went to then the Orioles came and got you, right? Yeah. So what came after that?
So after I chose to sign with the Orioles, it was just a matter of when am I leaving for spring training? Because I remember when I signed with them, it was late. It was in July. So it was kind of like late into the season already. So they choose not to bring me over to the States at that point. So instead of bringing me to the States, they ended up sending me to Venezuela. They had a camp there.
Okay.
It was one of those, so they're prospect camps, so where they have guys that they see that they might have a chance to sign, they'll bring those guys in, and they spend the whole week at that camp. So they had me go in there, and it was just all practice. And that's when I first got a taste of what it was like to be in the pros. I'm like, and I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't expecting that, because again, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, this is the pros. So I mean, let's see how it is. But it wasn't quite the pros yet. It was kind of semi, because they were all practicing, hoping to sign by the Orioles, which
you were already signed.
Right. So I was just there just to get the reps in. But the practice was totally different from what I grew up going through.
Was it more structured?
It was more, you go from like doing 10 ground balls to do it like 200.
Okay.
The swings, the amount of swings you take, I'm like, wow, this is a really long batting practice. I'm not used to this. You take 10, 15 swings and you call it a day. Where they were more focusing on their mechanics and the fundamentals. And it's just, so you go from like 9:30 in the morning and it'll be done by 3 o'clock.
Oh, wow.
So I grew up going from like 3 to 5 or 5 to 7. So that was an eye-opening experience. But I would say it did help me a lot to get ready for the following year, which was my first year in spring training.
Okay. So you went to Florida?
Florida. Again, I wish I had somebody to kind of give you a heads up of what to expect. 'Cause again, back then we didn't have that many guys out of Curacao that were playing in the States, so I didn't really have an inside info of what to expect when you get to spring training, what to look for, or what to do. No clue. So I was on my own.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So who was the who did you have anybody that took you under his wing?
Nobody.
Nobody?
I didn't know anybody. There was a couple of guys that were from Aruba,
Okay.
but they were with Orioles like 2-3 years already. So when I was with my team, let's say the extended stay guys, they were already with their A-ball, AA team. So I didn't get to see them in order for them to help me out with understanding English, first of all, because that was another issue that I had, is understanding what they were saying. Again, first year they were talking so fast,
Wow.
and I have no idea what they're saying. I was just going like whatever. Like I would just pick one guy, and I'll follow you wherever you go.
Yeah,
So,
that happens a lot.
Yeah, right. So yeah, it was a cool experience. But to look back to it, man, it was hard. It was hard, but it was cool. Because like I said, it was. I mean, I remember my first day in spring training. On top of that, I was late for spring training.
Did you were you late
Late.
Okay.
Late for the spring training itself. So let's say the March 1st was the reporting date for everybody.
Okay.
I got there on the 15th. So 2 weeks later.
Was that the team's fault?
It was I was having issues with my visa.
Okay.
So my visa got stuck in Venezuela for some reason. So which didn't allow me to leave Curacao until I got my work visa for me to travel to spring training. So that that whole process took a while for me to get that visa. So when I got there, I was 2 weeks behind.
Oh wow.
So it was like playing catch up. Oh man, that was tough.
Who was the first, like, well-known baseball player that you met?
Man, the first one, gosh, he was a guy. This is funny. Like he was growing up as a kid, because we grew up, back in Curacao. You get 3 channels on
Okay.
your TV. There was no cable and all that stuff. So it was like, and the channels that we were getting was from Venezuela. So there was a baseball game. It was a Venezuela baseball game that they will show, and his name was Jesus Alfaro.
Alfaro, yeah.
Yeah, he was a huge legend back in Venezuela baseball. And what do you know? He was the guy that was the coach. I go, oh my gosh, like that's Jesus Alfaro. Like, are you kidding me? Like, it's the guy that I grew up watching as a kid. And then he ended up being the translator for the Spanish guys. He did Dominican guys, but still, that Spanish was so much different from what I learned in school. Didn't really help me. So again, he's speaking Spanish and translating and stuff. No clue what's going on. I was like, I'm just gonna follow you. Wherever you go, I'm gonna go. So he was one of the first guys that I remember seeing as a coach, as one of my coaches, and he ended up being my coach my first year, because he ended up staying with the rookie baseball players back then.
So how was that first rookie year? Obviously, you got settled in, and obviously you're in a new country. It's baseball's almost totally different because they're doing other things. How was that first year for you in rookie ball?
I don't say like you will, as a first year. I don't think you will settle in. It's so much different. You don't have time to settle in until probably like your second year.
Because it's all about competition. There's somebody out there that if you don't have a bad game or something like that, somebody that's trying to.
So that's another thing that I have to get used to, is the amount of guys on the team. Again, growing up in Curacao, I keep going back there because that's where I grew up.
No, it makes sense.
It was 12 guys. Okay, so 12 guys, playing time is no doubt. Like, you're gonna play regardless of you go 0 for 5, it doesn't matter. But then when I got there, that's when I started learning about having 25 guys in the roster. I was like, whoa. So
wow.
You got 25, you got 13 guys that are playing position player.
Everybody else is pitchers.
So then it becomes more of a competition at this point. So
then your best friend, the person you're hanging out with, it might be the person that takes your job away. Yep. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And it's probably so hard to even deal with that.
It's hard. It's hard even off the field, because it's like, okay, we're buddies off the field, but then we're going against each other like during the season. Like, so in a way it's a tough. I mean, it's my teammate, but then at the same time, it's like, dude, I'm trying to take your job here. I know you're trying to take my job. So that experience was kind of like hard for me to deal with. But then throughout that first year, I learned how to deal with it. But like, you know what? On the field, we're going to war.
Okay.
Off the field, if you want to talk to me as a friend, I will talk to you. But either way, I'm here to play baseball. If you want to become friends, we can do that.
See, that's one of the things that I try to. I know we're going off subject, and we'll go back. I talk to Manny. Like sometimes he goes to places, and all he wants to do is talk to everybody, and like make your friends and all this. I'm like, do you understand that? You're competing. Once you get on that field, you're competing with everybody else. So I'm glad you say that. I'll make sure he watches. Yeah. He watches this afterwards. But yeah, it must have been really hard for you.
Yeah. And I don't mean it in a bad way.
No, I know.
Like don't talk to anybody, but just know that they're here to take your spot.
Yeah.
In a way.
If he makes the team and you don't, they're not gonna stop playing because you didn't make the team.
Oh, the game goes on. And that's the one thing throughout my years of playing, it was always something that you always looking over your shoulder.
Wow.
You never know who's going to be behind you. There's always a guy behind you.
Oh, absolutely.
The same thing, you have a guy in front of you. So the same thing, you have one behind you. So you're never comfortable until you sign that big contract. Then you know, okay, that's my spot for 5 years.
Yeah.
Until then, it's not your spot. So that's the one thing I learned is don't get comfortable playing the game. That's
amazing. That's a great advice.
Yeah. You can be as good as you can be. It means nothing. It means nothing. I mean, it's like you never stop. Like you say, like they always say, like you can get as good as you want to get.
Yeah.
Sky's the limit on how good can you get.
Yeah. There's unlimited resources there. So like if you want it, let's say you're having a bad day, a bad week or whatever, you want to get some extra work. Is there always somebody there to help you, or you're on your own?
That's always. That's the one thing that was nice about being in the pros is always a coach willing to help.
Wow.
All you just ask him, and that's the one thing I did throughout my years of playing. Always ask the coach, can we go in the cage for like 20 minutes? Even though I was doing good, that was part of my routine. I would still go with him and just get some extra swings, just to help you stay sharp.
Oh, absolutely. So you spent 2 years in rookie ball?
1 year.
Okay.
It was hard. But again, because brand new guy, not knowing what to expect. And I go back a little bit to that spring training experience when my very first spring training, I remember walking, because you know how it is down in Florida. They have 5 fields.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm like, what the hell is going on here? Like, I saw that was like 250 guys.
Wow.
Standing in the outfield. And it was all AAA down to rookie ball. I'm like, what?
How do you show yourself? How do you showcase yourself when you
Exactly.
got somebody like, for example, I don't know if somebody like Manny Ramirez, you know what I mean? Yeah. If he's there, he's in the major leagues. How do you showcase yourself at that point?
So in that case, they have what they call the prospects. So
okay.
Every team has their top 10 prospects. And I remember that's one of the things I was asking, like, who are these guys that are the top 10 prospects? So I want to see what they have as far as a player. Why are they considered to be top 10? And I'm like, whoa, I see. Okay. That's all I need to see. And I was like, wow, okay, that explains why they're the top 10. So, but it's just free for all, man. It's just go out there and fight. Go out there and fight.
It's like you're in a war zone.
Pretty much. And it's a sport, but you're still out there hustling. I mean, my gosh, like just the hustle part of the game, and you see these guys going up and down. It's something cool to watch because you don't see that very often.
Yeah.
How these kids were so hot. I mean, the guy ran from the outfield like full sprint. Even though you're already signed, you're already in the pros. But that shows you that they're still not good enough. They still want to show that I'm here, I'm going to bust my butt.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
So that's kind of things that one of those things like, wow, I want to take this with me and do the same as I'm playing, with my career.
Wow,
I always did.
Yeah, because obviously, you always making an impression on the coaches. Mm-hmm. So the ultimate goal at that point, is making to the major leagues, right?
Correct.
Because that's what everybody wants. Mm-hmm. But wow. But anyways, we're going to take a little break. We're here with Mr. Coffee, taking us through his life story. We'll be right back here with the Matatanes podcast. Also, if you want to go and get some hitting lessons, any type of lessons, you could visit Coach Coffee at Premier up in Valley City. And he's been there for quite a while, but we'll be right back with the Matatanes. We're here with the Matatanes podcast. We're here with Ivanon Coffie. He's going to take us and talk to us more about what happened in the majors, what happened in the minor leagues, and we'll go from there. But Coffee, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
I appreciate you. So you spent 1 year in rookie ball.
Yeah.
Then from there, where'd you go?
And now I have to say, like, as a professional baseball player, you want to spend 1 year in the rookie ball.
Okay.
Because that sun is so hot. I mean, you're talking like
because you're playing day games, right?
Yes, day game, 1 o'clock game every day. And that sun, again, was not a thing that I had to get used to. It was the heat. It's different, especially in the summer, playing 1 o'clock games. But not only that, but again, another thing that I had to learn how to deal with was having practice before every game.
Oh, wow.
Which was like all new to me.
So that's more instructional, rookie ball, right?
It is, but at the same time, like, that's why you have spring training. So you have your spring training to get all the fielding, all the reps in as far as like getting ready for the season. But then that practice before every game was just part of the routine of every team. Okay. So one of those things, like when you get that practice for like 2-3 hours, like then you got a game at 1 o'clock.
Oh, wow.
So again, it's all about. That's why I always tell kids, it's like the game of baseball, you got to love the game.
Absolutely.
When you love the game, all that stuff doesn't mean nothing. Because you're in so love with the sport that you can go all day. And it will not affect you in any way because you're in love with the game. So doing that, it was fun, but then that heat was just something else.
Yeah, especially in Florida.
So that's it. Like 1 year was good enough, and then luckily, because again, you never know. It's not guaranteed that you will be moving up your second year. Like you don't know where you're gonna end up going next year.
Okay.
So
you're telling me that you pretty much did your job in rookie ball. Like you did well.
I would say I did well overall, but my stats didn't show that I did well. But obviously, I think the coaches saw something in me that I didn't see. I was looking to go back for my second year because I didn't have such a good year in my first year. But after my first year, I remember going back home and I knew what was my issue as a ball player. Okay. Like any other kid will tell you, like, you want to impress your first year, and I think I was trying to do it too much. As my
so you weren't
year.
Yourself.
No.
100%.
So I was trying to be overboard, and it's never good enough. It's never good to be overboard.
Okay.
So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go home and work on what I need to work on. And I was like, I'm not going back to rookie ball. I'm not going back. I'm not going to repeat that league, and there's no way I want to go back and stay in that hot heat. So they had the rookie ball, and then they had the advanced rookie, which they play at 7 o'clock.
Oh, that's better because the sun goes down under the lights.
Correct. So I was like, I'm going to either go there or go somewhere else. I'm not going to come back. And then I killed it. My second year in spring training, I came so ready, so determined to be like, I'm not going back. And a lot of times these teams will build a team based on how the player performs in spring training.
Okay.
And then my performance that year was just off.
So then they send you after. So spring training you did well. Where they send you after that?
So I skipped advanced rookie and went to like low A. Okay. So a totally different league. Like, so I skipped pretty much my first year, second year, and then went to that the low A.
How was that experience?
Low A was awesome. Playing nighttime, so it's kind of cool. It was like, wow, this is cool. I remember it was a brand new stadium
Where at?
It was in Delmarva, Maryland.
Okay.
By Ocean City.
Yeah.
Brand new stadium. It was like 2 years old. The year before that, it was the Expos who used to play there. Okay. So then the Orioles took over, and man, that was That was an awesome experience. That was
Did
my
you?
actually first year playing with people watching the game. Like we averaged about 5,000 people watching the game every
Oh
night.
wow.
Yeah.
So 5,000 people. Did you ever play at Norfolk?
I did
At the
not get
Tides?
to. No, I didn't play there. I play against them.
Okay.
With the Orioles, because back then the Orioles used to be in Rochester, New York.
Okay.
So we used to go there and play against the
Yeah, because I was stationed in Norfolk.
Norfolk. Yeah. So
Against
there was
the
the
Tides.
Mets.
Yeah.
They were the Mets
Oh
back
yeah.
then.
Yeah. Because now they're the AAA for the Orioles.
Orioles. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah. So wow. So you skipped. You went to low A.
Mhm.
Then where you went after that?
So after that, that year, I remember getting hurt. I didn't finish the season there. I was having a good season too that year, and then ended up getting hurt. Hurt my shoulder, done for the season. They sent me home
Wow.
because I wasn't able to throw. I messed up my rotator cuff, so I ended up calling the season. So they sent me home, be like, you know what, just go home and we'll bring you back for instructional league. So I came back and just did rehab. I
Wow.
was like, man, it just sucks because, you know, you're here to play the game and then now you're sidelined because you can't throw the ball. So I missed the reminder of that season of '97.
Okay. So, I'm glad you went there because there's so many kids now, especially younger kids, getting hurt
Mm-hmm.
more and more. Like, how did you deal? Okay, so you end up getting hurt.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what if you could tell me what happened.
Mhm.
How do you deal with that when they told you, you know what, you go back home, come for instructional league? Like, what was going through your mind?
Again, it's one of my first time ever getting hurt. I didn't know what to expect. How long it's gonna take for me to even get back to throwing. So in a way, you start worrying about, am I gonna be able to play again?
Wow.
Because you don't know the nature of the injury. Like I don't know what was wrong with my shoulder. So then they figured out it was my rotator cuff, and so they did some rehab with it to the point where it wasn't good enough to even get back and throwing unless I get a surgery done.
And did you end up getting the surgery?
So that's one when I got really worried because I was like, wow, I'm going to miss my entire 98 season because I'm going to have surgery and spring training of 98 and be out for the whole season. And that kind of like, man, it's like, it sucks because like I got to be here all day and rehabbing. So luckily the coach that I played for my first year, he, the second year too, he ended up somehow got me to go with him to advance A-ball. And he
you must have made an impact on some.
I think I did. I mean, for him to take me the way I was, because I wasn't 100% to throw. I wasn't able to throw. So they told me, we're going to take you so you don't miss the season, and you're going to play 2 games at shortstop and DH 10. It's crazy. So just to get me to play that season. Because I was able to hit, but not able to throw.
So how were you playing shortstop and not being able, like, how did that work?
And to tell you the truth, dude, I was making throws halfway to first. I was using the grass to get the ball to first. So just to feel the ball, like really quick, move my feet and just bounce the ball, not skip it, to get to first. So I ended up playing the whole entire season that year just like that.
So your work ethics must have made an impact on that coach. I'd assume because for him to because obviously he could have taken anybody else, and he decided to take you.
I think it's more my talent. The work ethic was always there. I think the talent that they didn't want it to go waste. They didn't want me to waste a year and have that surgery done in February during spring training.
Okay.
So they're like, let's go play with this bad shoulder like that, and then we'll figure it out afterwards. The season. Yeah. So then after the season, and then it's funny was I had my bad season that year with a bad shoulder as far as like hitting and just overall. Okay. So then right after the season, I think a week later, I ended up getting my surgery done.
And then, but then you were off for.
So I was off. I ended up staying. They capped me here for 6 weeks just to kind of get some rehab done before I went back to Curacao. But when I went back, they capped me on the same schedule with people down there throughout my off season. So I didn't get a chance to do my regular off season training because I wasn't able to swing the bat or even throw a ball. It was all rehab the entire time, 5 days a week for, my gosh, the spring training, like 6 months. So in a way, it was very frustrated because I wasn't able to do my training.
Okay.
So
How was the bounce back after you surgery and all that stuff? Like, when you came back, what team did they put you on? Like, what level?
So after that 98 season, when I had the surgery done, they ended up putting me on the 40-man roster.
Wow.
Yeah, November of that year. So that was a huge accomplishment.
So were you in AA or AAA at that point?
I was A-ball. I just finished A-ball.
Wow.
My third year, yeah. So 98 was my third year. When I finished the season, and they ended up putting me on the 40-man roster. So that was a huge, like I said, it was, my gosh, it was like just
how do you feel like when they, okay, you're going to the 40-man roster.
Yeah.
Like, how do you personally felt when you found that out? Like, well, I know.
Let's explain to the audience what that 40-man roster means to a baseball player. So it's, obviously,
yeah.
It's one of those things when you get put in that 40-man roster, that means next year at any
given point,
they can call you up. It doesn't matter where you're at. It can be A-ball, it can be AAA. So that's why it was such a huge accomplishment, because, like, wow, I can make it now. I can say, hey, next year I might be able to make it. If I don't make it throughout the season, I can still get a call up in September. So that's why being in the 40-man was huge. So I felt like protected. And I was like, wow, they really want me here. So that kind of like motivate me even more to get ready.
And keep working
to get ready for the following season. So,
wow.
Yeah. But then it's just, but that year I struggled. Again. Because like I said, I didn't get my off-season training.
Okay.
And you need that. I don't care who you are. If you don't get yourself ready in the off-season, you will not be ready for spring training.
Okay, that's a great advice for this new generation that's out there. Always work, keep going off season. Did you ever take any time off, like a week or two, a month?
Never did. That's part of the work ethic. Because once you go home, once the season is over, they send you home. You're on your own, pretty much. Like, they don't have an eye on you. They're not gonna call you and ask you, hey, are you working out? Are you doing things? No, you go do you. Either you can go the off season, just go do nothing and expect to be ready for spring training, or you can go home and continue to work.
Okay.
And then be ready for spring training. Because once you come back to spring training, these guys are so, they've been doing this for so long. They know the guys that were doing their off-season training compared to the ones that didn't do the off-season training.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Wow, that is an amazing story. Obviously, I should have explained what the 40-man roster is, but wow. So we're here. We're going to take another break with Ivanon Coffie. Great story. Young kid from Curaçao coming to, playing baseball as a kid, coming to the United States, getting, having a setback, which was his shoulder. Then a coach took him under his wing. And then after that, he was on the 40-man roster.